Hello everybody, it's Caroline here from PC Games N, and this is an incredible day because I am joined by none other than the amazing Full Sage, and we are going to be talking about Borderlands 3.
All right. Glad to be here, let's do it.
Okay, so you're the creative director. Incredible, you've put so much into these games over the years, right? And I think everyone's so excited to see what's going to come out of the third installment here. But I think what we're wondering is how are you going to make it different and keep everyone engaged and excited and love it while still keeping that Borderlands craziness throughout the entire thing?
So there's a lot that goes into it, obviously, like you said, and one of them is our own expectations as well as player expectations. What is it that drives Borderlands? What is it that makes Borderlands Borderlands, right? So we've talked a little bit about story. Story is like what pushes you through. It gives you purpose. It's the framework. There's the characters. You know, I talk about our characters being genuinely irreverent. And what I mean by that is if our characters don't feel genuine, then there's no way that you can relate to them, right? And you have to be able to relate to the characters for the irreverence to make sense. When it's like, a character's at its best when you're like, oh, I wish I could say something like that in that situation, right? And that's where the irreverence comes out. You know, talking about the guns, you know, we throw out numbers like 87 bazillion, which isn't a number, but we also throw out one by. What's important is that each of the guns keeps you guessing to drag you into like the loot cycle should be so compelling where it's like, I've never seen this gun before. What does it do? And it's not that every gun has to be perfect or great for you, it's that you have to find one that is perfect or great for you, and it's that hunt that makes people compelled to move forward, right? And then the one of the four things, you know, that I think is really important is the way we basically combine, you know, great solo play with the ability to play cooperatively. You know, from the beginning, it was how can we get people to play without worrying about things like our level. You know, all of the barriers that keep people from playing, like, oh, okay, do I have to go meet you somewhere versus can you just join my game like immediately? And we've talked about level syncing a little bit, which is, you know, the ability if you're level 20 and I'm level 30, we can still play together without having to worry about that. You'll get loot that's appropriate to you, I'll get loot that's appropriate to me, and all of those things. So if you take those four things then and you say, how do you, if those have all been kind of like the franchise, you know, pillars, then how do you build upon those things? And, you know, I just mentioned level sync, so I already basically broke into like that's kind of one of the improvements, right? Guns, we've really spent a lot of time on making movement and shooting feel great in Borderlands 3. And that took a lot of modernization, and so it's one of those things that I hope nobody really comments on other than to say like, hey, the game feels great. I can slide, I can mantle, but also aiming feels good, you know, when it's with a controller. If it's with a PC and mouse, or a keyboard and mouse on a PC, then it's, you know, I feel like it's precise. So it's all of those things that go on, and then there's so much to talk about with planets, you know, like being able to travel to the different planets, having Sanctuary 3, all of these differences go into make it, you know, what I believe is still a cohesive experience, but a truly Borderlands experience.
It seems like you've really taken things that have been so, you know, monumental about your games in the sense of all the guns and all the weapons. They've always been really fun to kind of explore, but taking it to near extremes where you don't know what you're going to get, and that's still really exciting, like even now. And I think, yes, like all these things that you've spoken about, and, you know, the level thing is going to be great, because you're right. I think, you know, simple things about wondering when you can join your friends and how simple it will be, and like streamlining that experience to make it just easy and fun, and that's really cool.
We talk, you know, humor. You know, Borderlands uses humor as a great tool for pacing. When you think about the game and you think about the tension that a first-person shooter has, if you're talking about hours upon hours of gameplay, you need breaks in that tension. You need to pace it out. Humor provides a way of taking the tension that you feel like, holy crap, you know, this guy's coming at me. What am I going to do? You know, like, and then like ramping it down a bit and saying like, it's okay. Like, it's fun. We're just having fun. I sometimes miss that, you know, in playing other games. Like I'm wondering, like, are you finding the fun though? Like, are you having fun? You're challenged, but you can really have fun with Borderlands, and I think that's one of the secrets.
Yeah, no, I super know what you mean. I think often with games it can be extremely competitive, right? Or it can be all about finishing that campaign and doing it really well under the time limit, right? But there is something about just sitting down with your friends and laughing with the characters, because you're right, when they say really cool stuff, you're actually internally just going, why can't I be that cool? So it is cool to be able to have those moments and laugh when you're playing a game.
Right.
Yeah. So we know in Borderlands 3 there's going to be new planets and new environments to explore. Can you give me a bit of an overview of them? And also tell me your personal favorite.
Oh, the personal favorite planet. Okay, I'll save that. We've talked about 4 different planets, so I won't reveal any more.
Okay.
Or if there are more, people will have to play and find out, right? That's the fun of it. But we start on Pandora, right? Starting on Pandora was a very, very important thing to do, because I feel like it bridges that gap of like, we've had 7 years since Borderlands 2. So bridging the gap, reminding people of where you were, and then when you leave Pandora, all sorts of stuff happens. And then you immediately go to Promethea, right? Promethea is the city planet. One of the hardest things to develop is how do you develop a city, a civilized place, and make it feel like Borderlands, which is a completely uncivilized thing, right? So that was a difficult challenge, and I love the art team. Like they took that on, our level designers took it on, and I hope everybody feels the way I do, but I think they did a great job. Third, we've shown off a little bit of Athenas, right? Which is, for those people who don't know, Maya has her home planet is Athenas, and there are hints all throughout Borderlands 2 of she talks about Athenas, in what we call the ecologues. And so this time you actually get to see Athenas, right?
That's cool.
And then we've shown Eden 6. Eden 6 is more of a, I tend to think of it as more of a bayou type planet, where it's like a swamp. It's got, jabbers that are very much like monkeys, and it's got saurians that are very much like dinosaurs, right? So it's this fun jungle environment that really adds a different flavor, and it provided its own challenge during development. But I think it was more natural to be able to go to a bayou or a swamp, because some of our characters, I'd say they have like a down-home charm, right? Like Ellie and all of those, and that down-home charm comes a lot from almost a country vibe, and so Swamp Planet has a natural country vibe to it, and so it was kind of easier to get that into the flow.
More nature, and it's got dinosaurs in it, basically.
Dinosaurs.
Which is kind of cool, right?
Who doesn't like dinosaurs?
I know.
And even better, dinosaurs with lasers. We showed off
literally this.
We showed off a map that has a derelict spaceship called the Family Jewel, and there is a side mission there that we also showed off that actually has dinosaurs with lasers.
That's awesome. Do you just sit there and then you just go, you know what this planet needs? Dinosaurs with lasers.
Right.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That sounds good.
I mean, we call them other things, but everybody's like, that's a dinosaur with lasers, right?
I mean, I feel like it should just be hidden somewhere. They are just dinosaurs with lasers. I want to ask you about the spaceship and the spaceship base, right? So I'm curious about customization within there.
Okay.
So for the different characters, is there anything in the spaceship that kind of shows off their personality or their quirks, or maybe can you customize it to make it more your style? Or would you say it's all quite similar in there for, for everyone?
Sure. Okay, so Sanctuary 3 is the spaceship you take off from. You leave the planet. Ellie and Lilith have been working on that spaceship for a while. Once you get to a certain point in the game, where you get the spaceship, then you find out that you have your own quarters there. You will pick up things while you're playing.
Choosing your words very carefully there, I can see that.
Through various methods that actually allow you to decorate your room the way you want to decorate your room. Okay. One of the cool things about this is that your room travels with you. So if you're playing in your friend's game, you will see your room in their game.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
And man, I don't even know if we've ever talked about that before, but that's one of those features that's like, okay, that's actually there. Hammerlock hunts, as an example, we track your progress for these Hammerlock hunts, which are these challenges to go out and kill these animals for Hammerlock, who's a returning character, and then you can actually see trophies of those animals that you've hunted. So you get like a progress meter by going into a room and looking at them. Yeah, so there's lots of ways that Sanctuary 3 changes with your progression through the game.
It sounds really good. I think there must be something really rewarding going in there and just seeing your own space of things that you've earned, and it's your home.
Right.
So we mentioned weapons a little bit. And weapons is a huge part of Borderlands. Like it's incredible. The sheer amount of weapons that you have made over the years is astounding.
Yeah.
And you've got even more now coming out in this game.
Yeah.
Could you talk me through the process of coming up with these weapons? I mean, there are so many of them. I mean, do you just sit in a room and just go, okay, I want a dinosaur weapon with lasers on it? Like our animals. I mean, how does this all happen?
How does it happen? So from the earliest part of the game, we had a guns team.
Wow.
So I know this might get a little bit behind the scenes, but there's somebody assigned to being the designer of the guns. There's a concept artist that's on that team. There's a modeler on that team who does everything. And so that team sits together in a room.
Yeah.
And then I come in occasionally and throw everything into disarray. But one of the things that I think that team really latched onto was the ability for us to take our manufacturers, the in-game gun manufacturers, like Atlas, Jacobs, and provide different gameplay depending on the gun.
Right.
So our guns have always had a stat adjustment, like Hyperion's got more accurate as you fire them in Borderlands 2. But now Hyperion guns have shields, right? And so if you look at Hyperion and you see the shields, those shields then do different things, okay? They can absorb bullets or they can just absorb damage, right? The point of this is that you feel that gameplay more than you did of the gun just getting accurate. So we wanted to make sure that you felt it more than that. We have Jacobs that ricochet when you do a critical hit. We have, let's say, Atlas. Atlas, you can fire a tracking dart out.
That's cool.
The tracking dart allows every other bullet to home in on the target that you hit with the tracking dart. So the real importance of the weapons is the variety gives you, again, that drive to see what's around the corner that I mentioned before. And that was part of it. So then imagine if we throw that out there and then you have that team saying, okay, these are the base things. Now how can we alter what you're doing? We knew that TDR would be thrown down and at one point somebody's like, what if you have a gun with legs? Like, and we've talked about that before, right? But those guns also MIRV, right? Which is they can, as you basically reload and let them go, they will come out and like multiple versions of that gun will come out and follow a target.
Okay.
We have one that acts like a drone and just sits there and shoots with you. It flies in the air. So that's the team riffing on a core idea and just saying like, how can we make alterations of that? And then, we've talked maybe a little bit about the legendaries because we don't want to give away the secrets of the legendaries. But even at our gameplay reveal event, we had a legendary where you saw a gun with legs that had a brain. And so there's this huge brain on it because the enemy you fight has this huge brain that you can see. So it's all of that riffing that makes it really special.
Oh God, it sounds awesome, and it sounds awesome because that's their job, to literally sit in this room and talk about guns. So for how many years now, their life has literally been guns in Borderlands.
And they probably give each other crap while they're doing it, right?
I'm sure they probably do. I'm sure they do. But the thing is, there are so many guns that I want to. How is the process for kind of all of them? Because there are so many. Is every single one individually thought out and designed and all this sort of stuff, or how does that work? Because there's just a sheer amount of them. That's crazy.
Sure. We have what we call a gestalt. Okay, so a gestalt is an amalgamation of different parts. Okay, so essentially what this means is imagine that we have 3 barrels on a gun.
Okay.
So one barrel, if you're taking a Maliwan gun, might be responsible for it shooting fire and cold. Another barrel might be responsible for it shooting fire and corrosive damage. So if you take those barrels, they're parts. And then when we build guns, we build them based off putting those parts together. So there's a barrel, a stock, a scope sometimes. And then we add what we call mods onto them. So each part has different stats and has a different percentage chance that it can be rolled. So that's what happens. And through the beauty of combinatorial math, that is what gives everything the here's how many different guns we can have, is all the different combinations from all the different part sets.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
I'm also kind of happy that it's not these people in a room coming out with billions of guns, because I feel like they would, by the end of it, they would just be hitting their head against the wall and just be like, we can't do this anymore.
Right, well, it's the emergent gameplay that comes from all those different parts, though, that makes it really cool. And sometimes we never, I mean, we kind of expect what we're going to get, but there's surprises where, like, oh gosh, and we're talking about guns, but this applies to shields. Right, which you pick up in the game. There's different parts on shields that give you different effects. We have class mods that do that, and we also have our grenade mods that do that. So all of them use a very similar system of piecing together different parts. So the loot, and I try to be careful about what I say, but to brag on the team is, I think it's the best loot in the industry, honestly. Yeah.
I think people are excited for it. I'm excited for it. Like, you open up that chest and you see all those colors and you're like, yes.
Right.
You love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so still kind of on the topic of weapons.
Sure.
I want to know what your all-time favorite gun is in the game that maybe we haven't seen before. Maybe we wouldn't have played it. It hasn't come up yet. What's your all-time favorite?
What is my all-time favorite? Well, now I'm going to say, oh boy, I want to be careful not to give away too much, because there are a couple of legendaries I would love to talk about that I absolutely cannot talk about.
Because PR guy would just run in and be like,
well, even if he wouldn't, it's the spoilers, of being able to find them for yourself that I'd be like super concerned about. But there is, okay, so we have alien weapons, right, that are additive onto our current manufacturers. Okay, so there are, imagine there's an alien version of a Vladov gun, or, and so there are certain guns that they have beams. So these alien weapons tend to be more beam-based weapons. And there is one in particular that in a recent playthrough I picked up that is kind of like, okay, this is my de facto gun to shoot, because it's a beam-based weapon, but the beam splits when it hits a target. So it's splitting into all sorts of different targets as you're going around, and it's amazingly destructive. It's fantastic.
Basically the weapon you need when everything goes wrong, and you just need mass damage everywhere.
Yeah, it's a fantastic weapon,
Sounds good. I hope to find it. I hope I do, and I'll keep it forever.
There you go.
I want to ask you a bit more about you, and kind of the expectations and everything about Borderlands has been, so kind of monumental. The community's really been behind it. It's always had that real strong, community feel.
Right.
How do you feel about, the game that you've spent so long working on now is now coming out? We were chatting a bit before this, and you were saying how awesome it is to see people playing it and hear them talking about it. How do you feel now, kind of knowing it's about to come out and everyone's about to play it? Like, how has it been for you?
It's exciting. Again, I know we mentioned this before, but the privilege of getting to represent a team that has worked their butts off just to provide like fun entertainment is mind-boggling, and that's before the game launches, right? I get that privilege, and it's a weighty responsibility in a lot of ways, but it's fun because I also get to see people play the game. I get to talk to people about the game, regardless of whether camera's on or not. I get to go out on the floor. I get to see people playing, and just they'll stop sometimes and, hey, how is it? And I get to hear real time, how people feel about it. So that's great. And as for release, you're always excited. There's always, how is it going to do? I think it's a really good game. I want to see, right? And there's no predicting things like that. There's just, hey man, we made what I believe is a really, really fun game. I want people to go in and have fun. And we're about to see that. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see people have fun. That's why I did this. Like, there was a game I bought when I was 16 years old. It was called Ultima 3. And I remember that I was ridiculously excited about this game. I'd sat in front of a store and watched this game on a video screen for months, wanting this game and not having the time to get it until I was at. And it's that point when I got it and I was so excited about it, and there was such a feeling of it, I'm like, that's what I want to do. Like, I want to be able to give other people this feeling of like fun. And so I think that's the way most of our team feels, is that's why we're in this, is to let people have fun. And the more people tell us they have fun, the better it is for us. So it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of one of the nicest answers ever. But yeah, but it's great. But I think that's super the right reason to get into games, right? And,
Yeah.
and the thing is, I think most of the people that end up working in the games industry do it because they love gaming at their core. And I think it's so nice to be able to hear, back from the people that you're making all this for.
Right. It absolutely is.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Paul, this has been incredible. It's been fantastic talking to you, and thank you for sharing all these things. And I'm excited to, see all the things that you've spoken about, these cool guns and all the customization and the new planets. I think, it's going to be that fun, cool game that, just to get into it. I'm really excited.
I hope so. Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you so much. And thank you to all of you watching at home as well. Please make sure to like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to PC Games N for more. See you later. Bye-bye.